I think one of the things that defines modern gaming, whether you like it or not, is the redemption arc. And maybe you think that's not necessary, or the game should be, ready to go and in their perfect state right from launch. But I think, that's going to be tougher and tougher as we go along, because games are getting bigger and bigger, and you're going to obviously come into a lot of situations where there's bugs and things like that. There's just not enough people and not enough time to ever test everything. So unfortunately, there's always going to be bugs and things like that in our games. And, it sucks. And sometimes I think developers take off more than they can chew. And it's not just an Xbox thing, it's across the board thing. I mean, think of it this way. Naughty Dog had long since been Sony's best and most competent developer, and they totally dropped the ball this entire generation and will continue to do so, right? I mean, think about that, okay? They really, for the PS4, they released, The Last of Us Part 2, they released Uncharted 4, really good games. In the PS5 era, so far 3 years in, they have released nothing new, just remasters of the old stuff. And the new thing that they were working on, the multiplayer games as a service, factions or whatever it may be, got canceled. So, yeah, we live in this sort of weird world where that kind of stuff happens. And, I think probably what would have happened had they released that, I don't buy into the whole thing. Well, we would have then been a games as a service studio. No, because you have support studios. That's what 343 does for Halo. That's what, even Gears of War has done that. Call of Duty does that. You have support studios there. Infinity Ward might drop a game, but they're not making the maps for it after that. It's like Raven Software. You have support studios to do that stuff. So, you might put a few people in charge of that from the main one or whatever, but you can do other stuff as well. They weren't locking themselves into anything. Most likely the game just wasn't up to snuff or whatever. But with that being said, one of the things about this is that Halo Infinite kind of really had a really good redemption arc. But even stopping that, people were worried that we might not get more Halo or whatever. And now it looks like a couple of 343 industry developers may have hinted at an upcoming Halo game that has reportedly been in the works for a while now. Following the release of Halo Infinite in 2020, the trajectory had been rocky. Fortunately, fans won't be short on Halo content in 2024, which includes a new season of Halo show on Paramount+. Now it also appears that fans could expect a new game in the future. Expectations over Halo's future have dwindled in recent years, particularly after Microsoft's layoffs impacted the 343 industry team. I will point out, though, that a lot of us were calling for that, not necessarily for people to lose their jobs, but for restructuring at 343, because they did really a poor job. Like, when you do games as a service, and I'm not in the industry, maybe I'm way off on this, but it seems like this is what you need. When you release a games as a service game, you have to have that first year of content ready to go, right? You don't launch it at the same time, but that way you have a way to keep people invested throughout that first year. And then you also, that way you can work on year 2, 3, etc. from that point. So that's where they really dropped the ball, because the game itself at launch was fine, but then you have a situation where, you didn't have the content you needed. The roadmap for Halo Infinite reportedly remained unchanged despite the studio's downsizing and readjusting its long-term priorities for the franchise. While the focus has largely remained on the live service segment of the game, 343 dropped new content throughout 23, and incidentally, it may be that 343 may have bigger plans for Halo Infinite beyond that. As spotted by Twitter user Idle Sloth, former 343 Industries art director Justin Dinges specified that he worked on Halo's next unannounced release. Interestingly enough, the profile also mentions that Justin has been working on the project since April of 2022. Another 343 Industries profile states that the senior's character system designer had been building player systems and assets in Unreal Engine 5. While it doesn't specifically say Halo, Unreal Engine 5 was released in April 2022, more than a year after the launch of Halo Infinite, and it means that 343's Industries likely has a project in development on Unreal Engine 5 as an indication that it might be the next Halo game. So that's interesting news as well. The news comes about a month after 343's Industries offered an update on Halo Infinite's future. The studio stated that 343 has no Halo Infinite single-player content plans at the moment. However, this likely means that 343 will continue to update the live service segment of the game for the foreseeable future. Further, with indications of a brand new Halo game already underway, players have plenty of things to look forward to in the coming months. Apart from the games, fans will also see more content in the form of the second season of the show on Paramount Plus. Despite its first season being divisive among viewers, the show's popularity has garnered a continuation on the platform. However, time will tell if the second season will continue to retain its viewership numbers, especially given how the show has already broken some of the franchise's existing lore. Like, for me personally, yeah, I'm not big on the Halo show. I think they, like, you know what, listen, when you see the shows that are doing well in gaming, that are built around gaming, I always look at that and I go, well, they stuck pretty close to the lore, to this, to that, you know, and that's exactly what you have to do, in my opinion. You have to be able to do that. You have to be able to stick close to what these fans want and want to see and what they're used to seeing. Who's to say that sticking to the lore wouldn't have brought in new fans, right? It's like the same thing with anything. It's like, you know, Star Wars or whatever, and you see like Disney like strays too far off from the path or whatever. It's like, who says if you would have stuck to the lore that you wouldn't have gotten somewhere special or something special? You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't necessarily mean the negativity has to be there or whatever. So I think, you know, they should have just kept to be. This is my thing, right? Since the guy who's in there, I'm sure he's an actor, and, you know, it's the same thing with Pedro Pascal with The Mandalorian. You know, you're an actor, you want to be seen, not just heard or whatever. But what I would have done is just used a stunt person in the chief armor and brought in Steve Downes to do the voiceover work, because you've got the real Cortana there. That's how I would have handled that. We don't need to see the chief without his mask all the damn time and stuff like that. Just to me, it doesn't really do anything for me. It's just is not great. But anyway, like, the idea of Halo for me, I've always enjoyed the Halo multiplayer. You know, I think that this is something that honestly most people kind of feel the same way that I do about it, and that is, you know, hey, we like to play that single player stuff. Halo has always had great multiplayer, but if you remember going back to the beginning, Halo CE had no multiplayer. You know, like, people did LAN parties and stuff, but for the most part, like, we all just kind of enjoyed the single player. I love the lore, you know, the story, that kind of stuff. It was really well done. Unfortunately, that's not the case. You know, so anyway, I hope that that's something that you know, happens, and we see more Halo. I want to see single player Halo. I don't know what to do with the multiplayer. What do you do with that? Do you just keep that going and you release new single player content? Like, yeah, they're in sort of a weird thing. I think that, I think for me anyway, you have to. You lose something by not releasing that new game every 3 or so years, you know, like, it's not as exciting. I don't know. What do you guys think about this, though? I think it's good news that they're still working on this stuff. Let me know down below. I'm Crap Gamer. This has been Crap Gamer Reviews. Rack 'em up. Crap Gamer out.